we are going.
All right, welcome back. We're to the no.
You want me to do it?
No. Hold on. Okay. Welcome back to Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles. This is episode 3. My name is Mitch.
And my name is Gleb. And today we are going to be talking about long motorcycle trips and our experience with our trips that progressively got longer and longer and longer since we started riding 2 years ago. But before we jump into our main topic, Mitch here is going to share his personal experience from this week where he got to ride 2 motorcycles that he has never tried before.
Yeah. First of all, too, it feels like it's been a minute. It's a little over a month now since we recorded. Mainly because I got sick. So that was my fault. But while I was on the verge of sickness and we caught a rare opportunity of sunlight and a little bit of warmth,
Yep.
like, something that humans can tolerate, normal humans can tolerate. I knew I was not feeling good, but I was like, you know what, I got to get out. Like, I'll kick myself if I don't get out and ride. So I went around for a ride here and there, and I found myself at the deallership. I don't know how that happened, if I'm being honest. It's like
You just felt the pull.
I just like,
dealership coming
I'm just
towards
gonna go
you.
for a ride. I'll catch some lunch, no big deal. And then like, oh no, I'm at the dealership. What am I doing here? So, well, it turns out I'm just checking out the bikes, looking at everything, talking to the guys down at Harrison Eurosports, and apparently one of them listened to our podcast and he caught one of our jokes we made about Ducati. So he said, Mitch, you got to try a Ducati now. So he tossed me on the Desert X. I guess that's where I'll start.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the Desert X. And here's a little picture for all of you watching on the internet. Mm-hmm. And if you are listening to this, go and Google what the Desert X looks like because it's a pretty sick looking bike.
It looks really good. I remember when we went to that preview premiere, whatever, like they showed us the prototype, whatever it was. I saw it, like, it looked good, but I was still kind of skeptical. Like, I don't know why, but it's a beautiful looking bike. I'm not going to like word vomit specs or anything. So I'm just going to go into it that riding it, holy cow, I've never been on a Ducati, and that engine was just so dedicated to like what it was designed to do. That thing just wanted to go.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It's crazy because it's an adventure bike, right? And like, we have adventure bikes. I have a Scrambler. It's fast, but not like top end. It's not speedy.
Exactly.
And your bike's pretty quick too.
Yeah.
But holy cow, this Desert X, man, like that thing, like, it has such a long rev range, and you can just go, and you just never feel like you're
just keeps going. And
yeah,
going.
I never felt that I was like reaching the peak of its power band.
Okay.
It was phenomenal, very comfortable to sit on. It was light. Being on a Scrambler, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Your bike's not very heavy.
It's definitely heavier than that, though.
I
feel
kind of
like, because I remember
it was
I haven't ridden it, but I have like sat on it over at the dealership, and I remember it being like fairly like it felt noticeably lighter, but didn't feel as light as like a dual sport or a dirt bike, but it did feel quite a little bit lighter than my Tiger 900. And the curious thing I remember about it was like Ducati's an Italian brand, so you always feel like they're very like trying to make everything look very pretty and elegant, things like that. But this bike doesn't quite look elegant. You can see like plastic bits of like the coolant tank.
Yeah.
Like if you look between the fairings and the handlebars and stuff, and it just feels like it's more like stamped together.
It has like that. It has like that feel of like a rally bike, which I think is appropriate, honestly. But like I said, for the power of that thing, it was very nimble too, just for its like size and just everything on it. It was very flickable. It had the Pirelli Rally STRs. I'm probably mixing that name up somewhere. But I mean, I got that thing going. It felt very comfortable. It felt stuck to the road, which is what you want. Even going really fast on the highway. So no, I'll eat my words. I mean, it was just a joke about something I made about Ducati because they can be they have the reputation of being expensive to maintain, But honestly, like, after riding it, like that's a performance engine. I would imagine that's going to have some sort of like TLC that's needed. But no, if you guys are in the market for that, they're a little higher up in the ADV bike range, but not like a GS or Ducati's Multistrada or anything like that. But they're
and
holy cow!
And how you were saying like about the rally looks, and it does really look like you see something at the car, because the windscreen doesn't move. It's just there. It has like a little rectangular like TFT in the front, and just the way that it's shaped and the tank and everything, it's kind of more like smooth, and it looks more functional than, what's the word? It looks more practical than like pretty, basically. Like it looks as designed for function instead of like looks.
To a degree, but after riding it, like I don't know, so everything about it just seemed really well thought out. Like props to Ducati for that. Like that was my first Ducati riding, but I can talk about some other stuff about it, but like to make it short and sweet for that one is that it was just so like, that was my first Ducati, and it left me wanting to try more Ducatis.
And I always hear great things about them.
Maybe I should cover my hoodie while I mention this. But
yeah, you traitor.
You traitor.
And then the second bike you rode was the older, the 2022?
Yeah, 2022 Triumph Street Triple RS.
Okay. And just a little bit of background. So if you're in the motorcycling world, you probably know about the new Triumph Street Triple that just came out. There's the R, the RS, and then also the R.
Well, there's the
MotoGP.
Yeah, MotoGP. I thought you were going to mention the RR, which is a whole other beast.
Yeah, that's the Speed Triple.
Yeah,
but you got a chance to ride the older ones.
Yeah, so 2022 Street Triple RS, and like, man, like I'm going to jump back to the Ducati really quick to compare the two. So on the Ducati, the one thing I'd say, like the clutch was a little like not stiff, but like, you know, working through traffic, my hand was getting kind of tired working it from there. And plus I had to get used to it. You know, it's not what I had really been used to. The one thing I can say about from Triumph to Triumph that I've ridden, Triumph just has that clutch down pat. Like if you've ridden one Triumph, you know the clutch.
The clutch does feel really good.
It feels really nice, really smooth. By the time I was turning around to take that bike, the RS back to the dealership, rush hour had kind of started, so I was stuck on an on-ramp. I had to feather the clutch and hit that friction zone and just stay in there. And even like going all the way up the on-ramp onto the highway, I was like, no, this is nice. This isn't hard. So just starting off, I realized like this feels at home. It's very comfortable. I guess I'll just give it away right now. Like that throttle response, and just like the way the bike performs, like it. If you know the sensation of a hot knife through butter, that was the entire bike. It just felt so refined. It was such a fun thing to ride. Yeah, it was amazing.
And it's a great looking bike. If you're if you're watching the video of this podcast, you can see it. And if you're listening to it, it looks like a bug. I don't know why, but that front end just hanging.
It looks kind of wonky.
I just hit my mic. My bad. That front end kind of how like throws itself over that front wheel, and that's kind of become like Triumph's signature look, especially on their like triple bikes, because even my Tiger has the headlight like hanging over, almost like floating over the front wheel, which is kind of cool. But it's very prominent on the Street Triple because there was no other fairings around it.
Yeah. And then that brought up a point between the two bikes. Just like with the Desert X and the RS, two completely different bikes. Like they're basically the antithesis of each other. Different brands, different styles, different purposes.
Yeah.
But both of them, they had phenomenal like layouts on their screens. Like the Ducati, again, never having ridden a Ducati. It was very easy to learn, like this flip through its interface and switch modes.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention that on the, like, I haven't talked about that yet, but I'll jump back to the Desert X in a minute. But I started out on the RS in sport mode. And again, there's basically the same principle between your Tiger. And I had no problem finding my modes.
Yeah.
And I switched to track, and boy, that thing is...
Did it really feel the difference?
Yeah. I definitely obeyed every single traffic law.
100%.
Yeah, but
always
it was an amazing bike to ride. And it makes me want one.
And let me ask you this. So, since you ride a Scrambler, which is a very tall, much heavier bike with a very thin front wheel, and a large front wheel, a 21-inch. How did it feel riding a bike that's very short, low to the ground, with much fatter, thicker street tires and smaller street wheels.
Yeah, and that did take some getting used to, especially being at a more aggressive riding position versus like an ADV scrambler, but where you'd be more neutral. I was very much more leaned over, and me being 6 foot, like where like the cockpit was, like where I'd see like the display layout and everything, and with my helmet, there'd be times I couldn't even see that. It was just I just saw like the bottom of my helmet visor and then the road, and I was so low to it, having come from like a tall bike down to there, and I was going, it was just a new experience.
Yeah.
And I've ridden smaller bikes before, but nothing like that aggressive.
Okay.
And that was that took some getting used to, being that low to the ground. But even like trying to go from like a stop sign to make a right hand turn or make a left turn, I could tell the difference in those tires because like the more road oriented, and they're definitely way more sticky.
Yeah.
Like with my scrambler, being a 50/50 tire or 70/30 tire, whatever it is, turning it on asphalt and stuff, it's pretty easy. With that RS, it was like
took a little more effort.
You had to really crank that thing.
Yeah.
But it was really light too. That's one thing I noticed. Like I felt like I was on, like, just comparatively, it's all relative. Since I'm used to riding my ADV bike and I rode the Desert X before.
Yeah.
Those bikes, I'm typically used to having a bike feel heavy.
Yeah.
At that smaller bike, I was like, I feel like I'm on a bicycle, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a, that's just been my experience with them so far. I definitely need to go back and try more and contemplate more on the bikes.
I really hope they get one of the new ones in.
The new demos?
Yeah. For the 2283 model year, because those look like they would be a lot of fun. I would love to try one of those.
Yeah. I think
so
if
someone at Harrison is listening to this, hook us up, please.
Well, I think they're lighter weight too.
Yeah.
Again, I really don't want to like go on and on like spewing specs, because you can look those up and read them off a website. And
exactly.
I'd rather just talk about the experience with them. So.
And how did that triple sound?
Oh my gosh, it is just so refined.
It reminds me of like a high revving race car.
Kind of, yeah. I think actually, because I have the audio clip like from the video I took, I might use that for the audio intro for this episode.
Okay,
there you go. When it uploads,
yeah, that might work.
Future myself, I'm gonna hold myself to that and actually include that audio for the opening of this episode.
There you go. Okay, so that was our motorcycle news of this podcast.
Yeah.
Instead of news, we were just doing Mitch's thoughts on the bikes that he's got to try.
Yeah,
but I didn't
yet.
But
no, if you have the chance, go try them out if you're interested in them. And I hope to try more Ducatis later on.
I mean, honestly, if you are into motorcycles, go see if your local dealer just has demos for really anything, because it's fun to ride a new bike.
It honestly
is, always like a different experience on each different thing.
So, but other than that, I mean, a big shout out and thank you to Morgan and Will at Harrison Eurosports in Salt Lake City. They basically
they're good guys.
Gave me that experience to like talk about it, because it was really cool. So.
All right, so should we jump into our main topic?
I think so, yeah.
Long distance riding.
Absolutely.
Would you like me to...
Go for it.
Tell the story. Okay, so Mitch and I, we basically got our first motorcycles at within a week of one another back in 2020. And we weren't really friends back then. I just knew him as the guy I used to work with at Best Buy and vice versa. I just happened to come across a Snapchat and see that he has a motorcycle. And I was like, oh, dude, no way. I just bought one too. And so we ended up riding, and I think it was that very year we did a ride to Bear Lake. It was in late 2020.
Yeah.
We did a ride to Bear Lake, and that was probably our first
long
ride, because that was like an all day, basically from morning until evening ride.
We've tracked the miles before, I think, on that. Because it's not a long distance in terms of from point A to point B. It's just a big loop that we make from our locations.
Yeah,
but
it's
it
like
does
a big loop.
Take a long day.
If you're not in Utah and you're listening, Bear Lake is basically like about 2.5 hours away from Ogden, Utah, where I live, and for about 3 hours maybe from Salt Lake.
I try not to think
about
how far away it is.
And especially the way we went, because we took the back way, which is significantly longer than just taking the freeway and then going over to it. But the beauty of that ride is that road is perfect. It's twisty, it's windy, it goes around all sorts of different places, has some nice straightaways. So it was a good place to like try it out. So that was basically our first like really long ride that we did. And
at least did we do that on?
Yeah, at least we did together, because I'd done Bear Lake Loop before you on my bike, but that was before we kind of like really started riding and stuff.
Before we realized we had the same interest.
Yeah, exactly. Like before we really like started hanging out, I did do a loop up there and then back. But from that first experience, and here's a picture for those of you watching. Shoot, I don't remember which one of these it is. So there it is.
Hey, first try.
First try. And we both did this. I was riding my 2019 Honda CB500X.
Yeah, I was on my Honda Rebel 500. They grew up so fast. Look at those two little things.
I know. I was looking through the pictures and I was just like, this bike looks so tiny compared to the ones we have now. And yeah, so that was probably about like a good like 6 hours of riding in a day.
Yeah, I mean, it took longer for breaks
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it was definitely like still a very long ride, and I remember being pretty exhausted by the end of it, like coming home and being like, "Whew, like I am sore from sitting that long." And especially having a bike that didn't used to have cruise control or anything like that. I remember my hand being like a little like like a little achy from like holding down the throttle after going down.
Yeah,
like riding for so long on the freeway as well.
If anybody who rides a Honda Rebel, if you've done long distance on a Honda Rebel, if you know. That was I think my tailbone and back end were sore for like a day or two after.
And it's a pretty low bike.
It's a really low bike.
With not a lot of suspension travel. I remember you hitting like a lot of bumps and definitely feeling them.
Definitely a good bike. Definitely a good bike, but a very limited in terms of suspension bike. So it's a cruiser. It's a very small cruiser.
And from that, I feel like from that ride, I learned that one, I actually do enjoy these long rides because it's fun because you get to see a lot of different places within a relatively like short period of time, and it's just really fun to do it on a motorcycle. But you do have to like realize that it's not the most comfortable mode of transportation. For being on for a long time.
Yeah, and for me, like our first ride we did together when we met up and we rode through the Uintas and all that, like that was my first long ride.
Okay,
and I'd ridden from like Salt Lake up to Davis County, but that was like mostly highway, which is fine. But actually doing like long distance, like through the mountains, back roads stuff. It was when we first did that first ride, and then that was when I was like, oh, this is like, I mean, riding in general is fun. Come on, But actually, like getting out and seeing new places and kind of testing yourself and pushing your envelope, like that's when I really was just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah. So then, fast forward a year, we went on our first like overnight motorcycle ride down to Torrey, Utah, basically southern Utah, and I was still on my CB500X, and for those of you watching, there's a picture, and you were on your Scrambler 1200,
gawking at my Scrambler 1200, so.
And this was already like we were more prepared. I had saddlebags by that point.
I had sand gear.
You had sand gear. We both had like our adventure, like touring gear and things like that, touring boots.
Yep.
And we were much more prepared. And this was our first overnight trip. So the first night was great. The second day we did a very, very long day because we ended up riding down to Bryce Canyon National Park and then from Bryce Canyon back up to Salt Lake, which very in far. Itself is far, but it's very doable. But our mistake was not taking enough breaks on the way back up. So
like if anyone's gonna listen to this like for like advice on long distance stuff, like there's some lessons you have to learn yourself. And I think that was one of our first ones. Like, geez, just take breaks. Please take breaks. Because honestly, because we went a lot farther on our other ride, like earlier this year, a lot farther. But it wasn't as hellish because we took those consistent hour and a half breaks.
Yep, exactly. And that ride that he's talking about was our ride to Colorado that we did back in May of last year.
Yeah.
Right at the end of May. Here's a picture for those of you watching, and
it's a familiar picture.
As you can tell, I'm on a much bigger bike in this one as well.
You grew up a little bit.
Yep, I grew up as well, and was riding on my Tiger 900. Still the same saddlebags, which you don't see in this picture because they're back at the hotel. And, but yeah, so before we did any of the long rides, whether it's the first initial ones or like the overnight ones, what did you kind of expect them to be like?
You know, like, I'm not sure I really knew because I hadn't really done anything like that on a motorcycle. I've done long car trips and, you know, travel and stuff like that. And like, but yeah, it's always in like a seat and I'm closed in, you know? So I was like, I wasn't really sure, but I watched a lot of videos. For our Bear Lake one, I don't think I'm trying to remember if I think I don't think I packed enough because I think I spent like $25 on water that day. Like,
yeah,
like, you know, between gas station stops and everything. I remember I had like a little tank bag, but I think I just had like some roadside stuff in there, but nothing too much. So I was like, okay, I need to pack a little bit more stuff.
Yeah.
For Tori,
you had your duffel bag.
I had my duffel bag and
your tank bag, maybe.
I had that. Yeah. And maybe it's because my first time like packing like a GoPro and batteries and stuff. But like, something about I think I just packed a little too much.
Okay.
Because I think my duffel bag had like, for some reason I maybe packed like 3 shoes or like 2 shoes. I had like hotel shoes. I had like walking shoes, and then my riding boots.
Yeah.
And looking back, like, I didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
It was a night.
And I remember, like, you know, I've watched plenty of riders on YouTube and stuff like that, and you know, they cut their videos up, so you know, you're seeing all the fun parts instead of just boring stretches of nothingness.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I kind of pictured, like, I knew it's like, you know, you sit on the bike for a long time, and yeah, you probably get like saddle sore and stuff like that. But I didn't expect it to, like, but you feel it a lot more than you would think.
Oh yeah,
especially if you're not doing it very often.
It wears you down.
Yeah,
fast.
It wears you down because even that like Bear Lake ride, the one we did together or the one that I did by myself, I remember coming home and I was like, oh my god, I am exhausted.
I'm done.
I am so tired. I feel like I've been battered by the wind.
Yep.
Well, I feel like I've been soaked in the heat, just drenched in sweat, and like my muscles and my joints just felt like so like stiffened up. And granted, like, that was my first year riding, so it's probably just not used to it, and probably just things like that. But it does take a toll. Like, you do really feel it. So when we were doing the longer overnight rides, I made sure, like, okay, make sure pack enough water, make sure kind of like sit a bit more comfortably, don't tense up as much.
Yeah. Don't
do anything like that. It's a much longer ride. We'll see how it goes.
You just reminded me. I didn't even. This is a memory unlocked. On our Bear Lake ride when I was on my Rebel, I remember, you know, because I'm kind of tall. It's a smaller bike. We're cutting through. We made it past Monte Cristo, and my legs were cramping. They were so like just tight because I had those like really bad riding pants.
Yeah,
those were my first ones. And I remember I like stood up on my cruiser bike and I like sat down on my backpack that I had tied to the tail, like on the rack.
Yeah.
So I was like sitting on like my tail fender to like just get a stretch out of my legs.
A stretch, yeah.
I'm like, you know, I'm at GAT, all the gear all the time. But I had to stop. We had to stop on the way home because I had to take those knee pads out.
Yeah, I remember. Those were like in Logan or somewhere.
Yeah, we had to stop somewhere there because my knees were just. It was awful.
Yeah.
And I think from if I can add to my answer about some of the stuff I learned was between the Bear Lake ride and our Tori ride, both times we honestly tried to like we just tried to push. Like,
we did. We really tried to push.
Let's go.
Which is a little bit easier to do on like the Bear Lake ride because we know we'll eventually like get home eventually because it's a day ride. But all the other ones, they were overnight, so, you know, we're getting to a hotel. It might not be as comfortable as your own bed. You might not get as much rest. And you can definitely feel it. You definitely feel it.
You might have to take a night ride to find beer at a gas station because the town was closed by the time you get there.
Let's see. So that's kind of what we kind of like. That was kind of my expectations. I expected to be tired, but I didn't expect to be as tired as I was. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we learned a lot from that first Tory ride, and we kind of used those ideas on the second ride, which was to Colorado last May. So when we went to Colorado this time around, I made sure to, it was a much more, it was spring. It was still like end of spring. So, I made sure to pack like a couple of extra layers of clothes just to make sure that if we do hit cold weather, which we'll circle back to a little bit later. So I'd be kind of prepared for that, and also make sure to bring plenty of water so I have to drink, because that was a very long ride.
It was
The big difference for me, though, I was on a much better bike, too. My Tiger 900 has cruise control. It has a way more comfortable seat than the Honda did. A much more comfortable riding position. It's a bit more roomy, and it's a bit more powerful. So I didn't have to feel like I'm wringing it out all the way just to keep up at highway speeds during the parts where we had to go fairly fast, which made a huge difference for my comfort level, especially the cruise control. That's probably been the biggest game changer, because you can set it. I can relax my wrist for a minute. I don't have to keep it twisted, and I can kind of just like relax, loosen up, stretch a little bit.
You can adjust,
wave that right hand around, adjust around a little bit more. That made a big difference. But also the biggest thing that we did was we took frequent breaks.
That's what I was saying, is like if you're gonna ride, and here's the thing, right? Because I had heard that before in other videos, and other riders have said like, hey, just make sure you take breaks, and heard that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take breaks. And sure, we did, but like, take consistent breaks. Like, for us, I think we kind of learned that like our maximum is like an hour and a half consistent. Like, you just but that's like pushing it. Like, ideally, I think we want to stop every hour.
And that also depends on like where we're riding and on the weather and stuff like that. Because if we're riding in like somewhere with high winds, it's going to be closer to the hour instead of the hour and a half, because you're fighting that wind the whole time.
Well, especially if you're on my bike.
Yeah.
No fairings and wind protection.
And like the noise, the constant like shifting back and forth from the wind, the passing semis.
Yep.
All of those things kind of start to add up and wear you down. And especially like after a while, you're just like, wow, I just need a little bit of quiet away from the wind. Just need to like stretch my legs, walk around, take my helmet off. Yep.
Unclip my boots.
Yep.
I should have sent you the picture of me at the gas station on our way to Colorado.
Oh yeah.
It was like 100-something degrees in the middle of like of literal hell. Let's be honest. Like that stretch from Price to Moab was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're just standing there at the random dog park at the gas station.
A dog park at a gas station in 100-something degree weather, and I'm just. I wasn't regretting my decision to go on the trip. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And that's the other thing that wears you down much faster is heat.
Yep.
Heat, you start to sweat, you start to feel crusty, you start to feel dehydrated and stuff. So we made sure to take pretty frequent water breaks, to even if it's like 5-10 minutes, just take some sips of water, make sure we pack extra water, and if we're running low, to buy some at the gas station, because that probably was one of the most important things.
So for me, I'll preface how it is for me and ask you if you haven't felt the same way. But like, I start to get really irritable in those conditions after too long of a way. Like, 'cause I remember on the way back from Torrey, I was not enjoying myself like those last 2 hours.
Oh
home.
yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, what does it? Because it wears. So basically, it wears on you mentally. For me, but what do you think? Did you ever?
No, I feel like whenever we've done like really long rides and have pushed it, and I feel like at this point we probably push it more on local rides, like local day rides, compared to our like overnight trips. Because it's overnight, so we kind of know, like, okay, we need to take breaks, but for some reason we always forget to do that when we're doing like local day rides, even if we go up to the Uintas. And there's been a few times, like the Torrey trip was one of them. I was just like, I just want to get home. Like, I am so dead ass tired.
No offense, Gleb, but I just like no offense, but
I'm done. To road noise, passing cars, especially once like I had to drive the extra 30 minutes from you on the freeway, and I was like, I just want to be done.
Yep.
I felt a little bit better after our Colorado ride.
Yeah.
Because we kind of took a lot more breaks, and I was kind of more prepared for that. Plus, like I said, more comfortable bike. But no, I do feel you like at a certain point, but I feel it more on our day rides when we're like coming back, because I start to feel like I'm just done. I just want to get home. I want to take off all this motorcycle gear. I want to take a nice cool shower, have a cold beer, and just lie there.
Yeah.
Because I am just, it doesn't help that summers have been getting really hot here in Utah. And especially when it's that hot of weather, I just feel gross. I feel like warm all the time. Just feel nasty. And the only thing I want to do is just hop in the shower.
Yeah. No, I like to think I'm pretty like accustomed to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. But when you're just sitting there, you have no power. You're just like, you can't stop. You're on a bike. You're on traffic. You know, and like if you're doing a distance trip, then you got to get home, you know, or to your destination. You know? So it's just like, it just wears you down. It
starts to wear down on you after a while.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's something you kind of get used to over time, especially like if you constantly do these kinds of long trips, but you know, we don't do that. So
yeah, I know people who probably do. Actually, no, I know they do ride longer durations than us, but you know, it's like you just got to find like your personal limit. And I think like we both have like that same like, it's like, hey, let's take a break.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons we've learned is like frequent breaks. You know, it's fine if you don't get to the station like within the time that Google says you should get there, because that's just not realistic, especially on a motorcycle. I think taking frequent breaks, make sure you're stretching, make sure you're drinking plenty of water, have some like protein bars with you, maybe some like granola bars and stuff to kind of give yourself a bit of extra energy along the ride.
You know, so basically just like don't be concerned about your time. Like as long as like the weather's working with you, you're not going to be riding in dangerous conditions. Like, you know, like getting to Colorado, it's starting to get dark. We had a close call with some elk.
Yep, we had some elk just run out right in front of us, and that was in the dark. By the time we did get to our hotel, it was pitch black. Basically. So, you know, just.
But we had to take those important pictures with that view.
We did. Yeah,
I unlocked my.
But like at least me personally, I didn't feel like super drained because we took all those breaks. Throughout the day, and we had a really long break in Moab where we spent maybe like an hour there because we got some food, we got some beer, and then we got some coffee. Kind of like walked around so we can get our muscles and blood moving and stuff before getting back on our bikes and continuing on.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from past Moab, we stopped probably about every hour or so at various places just to stretch our legs and you know, drink water and all that stuff.
Yeah, boy, it's really important. Back on the topic of timing though, but this might be a little. No, it's on track regarding our Moab trip. Should we even bother mentioning our timing mix-ups with a certain rider?
Yeah, we can throw it out there. So
that was just funny.
If you're an adventure rider or a motorcycle enthusiast and you watch YouTube, you might have heard of Itchy Boots. And we are both big fans of her. We both follow her channel and her journey throughout the world. And the craziest thing is, I was watching one of her episodes, and she ended up coming through Telluride, Colorado, and I noticed something in the background. It was two motorcycles. They weren't our bikes, but they were the bikes we were parked right next to. And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "We were right there. We were parked next to those bikes." And then in the video, she mentions what time she was there at, which was like 2 p.m. And then I looked at my phone, and I have a selfie of me with those bikes in the background, like an hour before that. And I was like, we literally missed like this freaking awesome motorcycle ride that's traveling around the world by 1 hour in the same place as we were.
And this is like, she travels the world, you know? Like we don't live in that state. It was just by pure coincidence that we were just off by an hour. But I was bringing up the timing because it wasn't just Telluride. It was our way heading into Colorado. What was that town called? Norwood.
Yeah.
We rode past her because we had taken our breaks, I think.
Yeah, we did take our break. We rode through the town because we didn't feel like stopping.
Yeah.
Because we stopped like not too long before. Yeah. And in her video, she stopped there like...
stay the night or something.
To stay the night. We would have been in Ouray in Ouray that night. And then she came to Ouray like after we already left back to Utah as well. And she stayed in Silverton the day before we went to Silverton.
Oh,
as well, because she rode through it. She didn't stay there. Yeah. But, like, it was just such a weird coincidence because I'm like, I was so bummed because I'm like, I at least wanted to like wave, like not even say hello in person because, you know, but like at least wave in the background or something or just like point it out. But it didn't happen, you know.
Yep, Gleb almost met his hero. So the only thing you're missing by taking breaks is like a really weird off chance that you'll meet a YouTube motorcycle celebrity, you know, barring any weather. So just take your breaks, guys.
Yep. Like, just take your breaks. You're probably not going to run into them anyway.
No,
so take your breaks regardless.
That was really funny.
That was really funny.
I was losing. We figured that out like months later. When she released the video, we're just like, what?
It was months late. It was like in August, and we went in end of May.
I remember I couldn't like complete my work that day for my job, and it was like,
I know. Just, like... I had to tell all my coworkers that did not give a shit about about motorcycling whatsoever of what just happened, and then I had to tell all my friends about it. I literally called my mom to tell her about it because I was like, Mom, you're not gonna believe this.
Moral of the story, like, buy a motorcycle, you unlock some almost opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, we rode into Ouray, and we weren't like, I didn't feel as defeated and as tired as we did on a Tory ride because it was we made sure that we took breaks. When one of them says like, hey, let's take a break, we pretty much like, yep, sounds good to me. Because if one of us is more tired or less, the break's going to benefit both of us regardless. So it's not going to be you know, something we're going to like miss out on that's going to like take time away from riding and anything like that.
Yeah, and it's not even just like breaks, because I think at even one point we were on our way back, like either it was, I don't even remember what it was, but we hadn't been riding that long, like maybe 20-30 minutes, and it might have been you needed to adjust something like your gloves.
So
just like don't like ride your own ride, basically. Like don't worry about the people you're riding with. Just say, hey guys, like, I need to take a break. I got to adjust and fix something.
Yep. If they're good friends, they will wait for you.
Yeah. So like, because it's like, I mean, you know, it can be a safety issue, and part of that safety issue is like if you're starting to lose your focus, like just take a break.
Yeah.
If you're
exactly.
Yeah. So
and I think that being focused, being like having energy is probably the most important thing you can have. While riding, to make sure you're not fatigued, make sure you're of clear mind, of sound mind, and all that. And you're paying attention to the road, because safety is probably the most important thing. You know, you don't want to cut your ride short and end up in the hospital or worse.
Well, I wouldn't say like our ride back from Colorado was precarious by any means, but we were definitely chasing the weather was chasing us.
Yes, the weather was chasing us, and that brings us back to a lesson learned. Which is, you know, I said I packed enough layers, and I did, except I did not think to pack one thing, and that was my winter or cold weather gloves, because this is the end of May. We're already hitting, you know,
it's like
80 degrees in Utah, 90 degrees in southern Utah, and I did not expect the temperature to drop anywhere below like 50 or 40, like, or, you know, 50 degrees like at night, maybe 40 at night, and then, you know, being somewhere in the 60s to 80s in the afternoon, because we were so far south. And boy, was I mistaken. So I did not have my winter gloves, and there's a stretch of road between Price and Provo that involves going through a canyon and through a summit. And in that canyon, it got down to 43 degrees, 40 degrees.
Light dusting.
Yeah, light dusting of snow, which normally would not be that big of an issue, but because I did not bother packing my cold weather riding gloves, there was a point where my hands started to feel a little numb on the tips of them. Even though I had heated grips, even though I had like the hand guards, the plastic hand guards, that so they provided some wind protection, but I still felt like my hands starting to get pretty cold. Now you had to pull over and stop. I had to like hold them by the radiator fans or by the engine to kind of warm them back up a little bit, because it was starting to get cold, and I was like, okay, next long ride, even if it's the middle of summer, I am packing my waterproof cold weather gloves, because you just never know how quickly the weather can change, especially in those transitional like seasons and stuff like that. So I will not make that mistake again, and I will pack to make sure to pack some like a decently thick sweater or puffy jacket to wear underneath, and things like that. Pack some lightweight thermals or something you can wear under your motorcycle pants. Even if you don't think you'll need them, it's good to have them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have them, then, well, leads back to what Mitch said about, focus, concentration, things like that. Your hands or feet or legs starting to feel cold, your torso feeling cold, that could be really bad.
Yep.
Is going to start distracting you, which can have bad consequences.
Yeah. Well, and that's like what, I mean, I did pack my cold weather gloves. They're not my favorite to wear because they're like really tight around my palm, and like I feel like I just have trouble like manipulating my thumbs to like get to the knobs from rider modes or whatever on my bike. First world problems.
Yeah.
But no, like so I at least had those, and that's what I slipped up on though was, I packed my sweater. I had my rain liners for my sand jacket, my Revit Sand 3 jacket. And then because I had gotten those Climb cargo pants that we wore in Colorado for riding, I didn't bring my sand pants, but I did bring the waterproof liner for them. And I think, and I'm gonna blame it on myself because I don't know why I didn't like just take the extra time to take those pants off and then put the waterproof liners on underneath the pants, because I was wearing like the waterproof liner over the pants.
Yeah.
And I looked ridiculous because they have like a boot cut style thing at the bottom.
Yeah.
So they just looked really funny. So I was protected from any wetness in that regard, but the warmth. All I had for another layer was my hoodie, my other hoodie that I had.
Yeah.
And like a long sleeve shirt. But that wasn't enough. So I think for me, like, I'm just going to pack thermals. I don't care when and where. Cause I packed like some layers, but I was still taking a risk. Cause like, we're going to be in the mountains. I don't know what weather can turn on a dime, especially at high elevation.
Yep.
Which it did on the highway.
It did turn on a dime. We went from a nice 70-degree day to like a 50-degree day with light snow falling from the sky, and
it made us turn around on the $1 Million Highway too.
Yeah, we did not make it all the way down to Durango like we wanted to, because we just weren't sure. We found out later from a few other riders that it was like, oh, it was fine, we rode through, but
they said it was. I mean, they I'm not going to generalize, but they were they didn't seem that cautious of a group.
they did not,
because they said it was like oh, you just push through, like the road was wet, and it's like okay, well, wet and cold means ice at a certain, like, 11,000 feet.
Yeah. And my big concern was the fact that because, it was a road that none of us rode before, so I don't know what to expect later on. What if it gets really twisty? What if it gets really narrow? What if the weather gets worse and we can't get back to our hotel? Yeah. And then what are we going to do? Get stuck in Durango for overnight when their hotel's only like 2.5 hours away back in Ouray? And it's just too many unknowns, and we decided to not risk it and then head back to Ouray. We've seen plenty, and it was really pretty. But it sucks that we got to miss out on that part of the highway, but at the same time,
I think we saw the good stuff.
Yeah, we saw oh, it was wonderful. It was a magical road. But for me, it was just that unknown, like I don't know what's out there. The weather, it looks like it's getting much worse. It could start hailing, pouring, snowing at any minute. And it was towards the end of the day, so it was starting to get like a little darker too. It was
darker, colder.
Yeah.
And it was we'd already been stuck in Silverton longer than we wanted to be because there was like a snow and winds. It got really windy and there was some snow brushing through.
So we decided to wait that out. So we just weren't sure what was going to happen next. So we made the decision of heading back, which is probably another good lesson learned, is that, keep an eye out on those conditions. And if something does not look right, trust your gut and don't do it.
Yeah, just be adaptable. I think that's our lesson I learned, is like, because we had a plan, we wanted to stick to it, but mountain weather can change your mind for you.
Yep. can change on a dime, and then you have to just roll with it.
Yep.
Like find your acceptable level of risk if you're willing to take that risk, or if you would rather play it safe and then go back to your hotel.
Yeah.
Which
I think was fine for what.
Which I think we did great, because I mean, it was a nice little town. I loved D-Ray. It was such fun. A good little town.
Yeah. I didn't like everything closing at 6:00.
Yeah, everything did close early. That was kind of the downside, but when it was open, places were open. And
another lesson
quaint
is
little town.
Yeah. So there's your other lesson is like research the town you're going to. Make sure stuff doesn't close at 6. Yeah. Especially if it's a small town.
And if it does, get there in time or pick stuff up on the way.
Yeah.
So you're not stuck right into the gas station that closes in 5 minutes to pick up a gas station sandwich in the middle of the night.
Yeah, a gas station sandwich and strapping the 6-pack to your bike.
Yep, exactly. But it's all part of the adventure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Be adaptable. Figure it out. Also, I think another good lesson is know your route ahead of time.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually like plan it out completely, but at least know some like the more major roads and stuff around the plate or between the two places you're going. Yeah. Even if you're planning on going off-road or taking the smaller path somewhere, I think it's still important to kind of know like what else is around you.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, well, if I can't make it, if this road ends up being closed for some reason, so you kind of know where to find the alternative path. And I think another good thing is to make sure if you have a route planned, download the maps to your phone locally. Because if you're in an area with no service and you need to find a way to go and you don't have a proper GPS unit, I think it's very important to have that on your phone.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that, 'cause we were talking about like know your route, plan, a little bit better. Because we took some like dirt roads too.
Yeah.
While we were in Colorado, and another thing I learned, or not learned, I mean, it's common sense, but like just watch your health, because I was having knee troubles and like, so, like I didn't really want to get too far in, so yeah, just check yourself, check your bike, check your route.
Yes. So, and then for the final, to kind of wrap things up, we're going to talk about just some tools of the trade, tools, equipment, accessories, and things that you both think that everyone should probably have on them if they're doing a long motorcycle trip. And if you are a much bigger motorcycle adventurer than us, you probably already know all this stuff, so this will be nothing new to you.
We're scrubs when it comes to adventure riding.
But for me,
I'm happy with it.
Number one is layers, multiple weather, be prepared for multiple types of weather, even if it's in the middle of summer, because you never know what kind of weather you might encounter. Hell, we have hailstorms in the middle of the summer sometimes.
That can happen. Snowstorm in the summer sometimes.
That can happen, so you never know. It could be a 90-degree day, and then later on it's like 50 degrees and snowing for some reason.
Yep.
And you'll be much more comfortable if you're warm and not cold. And later on for me, it was my saddlebags. I'm not a big fan of them. I do want to get the new Moscow motor bags, because my current ones are just cheapo Cortec ones. They're a little lopsided. They sag.
Yeah, it looks kind of funny because I usually ride in the back, and
especially because my new bike has a higher exhaust. So one of them is like resting on the exhaust, the other one's like hanging low. And it just looks so ridiculous.
Actually, I'm excited for our next ride, because now that I have because of the Scramble with that high exhaust, I have that built-in
saddlebag.
Yeah, a little saddlebag.
Be nice to have.
I forget who make. SW Motec. Yeah. So so get your Moscow bags.
So I think that's the other big improvement is, and for me, I'm a person of convenience. I don't like to take too many extra steps to do what I feel like is a basic task. And these saddlebags, I mean, they have straps. They're all like wobbly and wonky, so it's kind of a pain to take them off and on, and they're not very rigid, so if you pack them with clothes, they start to look all misshapen and things like that. Plus I also have my camera bag, which I strap on the back as well. So for me, I think the biggest thing is kind of organize your luggage, figure out how well it works, and get the luggage that's appropriate for your type of motorcycle and for the type of trip you want to do. These Cortec bags, not good for long trips like that. They're a good day trip bag just to throw on the back for a minute.
Yeah.
But not for something that's like a 2-night trip.
Yeah. And I think I wouldn't say I'm like opposite of that, but like I take a different approach. Like I have a tank bag. I want to get like a better one. It's sitting right down here. It does fine, but I think it's good to have your stuff that there's a big to small chance that you'll need on your ride. Just have it in your tank bag. But, account for weight if it's magnetic. And that, from there, but like, I don't have I have that new like detachable easy saddlebag thing, but like all I'm going to really keep in there would be like my roadside tools, because it's easy to get to. I can throw water. I can throw like an extra water bottle in there, but I don't do like tank bags, or like I don't think I'm going to get those Moscow Moto bags, even if I have a different bike, because I have that waterproof duffel bag. Yeah. And from my life experiences, I'm used to living out of like a big sea bag and duffel bag. Used to arrange stuff in there, and I have rock straps and just tie that down. And it
worked pretty well.
And a road trip hack: if you have a swimsuit and it's still damp in the morning when you're leaving, you strap it underneath your rock straps.
Yep, just right on top of the luggage, and it'll dry out by the time you get to your next destination.
Yeah. Oh, and in cleaning out this room for recording this, I finally found my my cargo net again.
There you go.
Not spandex, my stretchy cargo net. So I can keep that on over the duffel bag and put more stuff underneath it if I need to.
And that's the other, I think, tool that's very good to have spares of is rock straps. Rock straps are amazing for strapping anything down to your bike, basically. Anything from a 6-pack of beer to extra clothes. Like I had my sweater that I wore as a layer, and when it got like a little too hot for it when we were going through Moab, I remember instead of shoving that back into my duffel or into my saddlebags, I just put it under one of the rock straps and just call it good, because I didn't want to bother arranging stuff in there. Yeah, they're super easy and convenient for like adding more stuff onto your bike if you need to do that. Obviously don't overpack, but like it's good to have spare rock straps just for the one off chance that you might need to like put something on the back of your bike.
Yeah.
I always bring my rock straps with me, even if I'm just like riding to work or around town and stuff, because I never know if I might want to pick up on the way home.
Yeah.
And so I can have a place to like strap it down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really nice. No matter what you're using, just make sure you have waterproof. Well, let me start that sentence over. It's like whatever you're having for your bag, just make sure it's waterproof. Because with those rock straps, what's nice is because like as things dry, space gets smaller, so you can, as the day goes on, you can tighten your rock straps as air escapes and water leaves like the fabrics and stuff. Yeah. Plus, if you get caught in a rainstorm, all my stuff is dry. So
that's very important.
In that waterproof duffel bag that I don't even, not quite a duffel bag, but it's a sea bag.
Yeah,
it's actually like it's truly waterproof.
Yep. And for me personally, I also have my like waterproof overpants that I wear. They're very basic, but waterproof also means windproof a lot of the time. So it's kind of double duty when you're riding through the really cold part in Colorado or back from Colorado. I remember putting those on because my legs are starting to get chilly. So that's very important. And those things are, they were like $30 at Cycle Gear just to have something spare like that. You always have your tire repair kit with you. Both have our like air pumps. Those are important. And then just even like a little tool roll with like basic tools. I just have like the cheapo Stockton one from Cycle Gear, but it has like extra fuses in it. It has all the wrenches that you might need just in case you need to do some roadside maintenance on your bike. There.
And zip ties.
Take zip ties. Zip ties, you can never go wrong with them.
Yep.
Make sure your chain is lubed up before you go. Yes. And cleaned. Tires at the right pressure.
Yep. And we have a friend in our riding group. His chain broke on a long ride, and they had to zip tie it to get him roadworthy to get home. So
that would suck really bad. So just kind of, I guess the big takeaway for the tools part is figure out how long your ride is and kind of go based on that. Bring it things you would need for emergencies. Be prepared for changing weather, and be prepared for any roadside issues that you might have that you might encounter in the middle of nowhere.
And if you're I thought you were done.
Sorry.
Let's go ahead.
And another big thing is let people know where you are and where you're riding. That way, if something goes wrong, they have a general idea of where to look for you if you're stranded. For example, me and my parents, we have like our location shared on Google. So we always know, because I like to go hiking, I like to go up in the mountains or snowboarding and things like that. It's important for someone to know where you are, just in case something does happen, and they can have a general idea of where you are.
Yeah, and for me, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, let them know like where you're going, like where you'll be, and like how you're getting there.
Yep.
I mean, that's the extent of I do it. That's my bare minimum.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say, like, with like, we're on the topic of like zip ties and fuse it, like all that little stuff. There's just like that general rule that I think it goes for pretty much any hobby if you're out and about, in the middle of nowhere. Like 3 is 2, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Yeah. Like have spare earplugs. Have you have your phone battery, but have like a portable battery charger.
Oh, yes, good call.
Just so you can have like that extra security if you need, or something goes wrong or something breaks. So.
If you're a photographer or if you have GoPros on you, extra batteries, charger, extra SD cards, because those things are tiny and will get lost.
Yep.
Make sure your mount's like stable so your GoPro doesn't go flying off.
Also take wet wipes because you just never know.
Yep, take wet wipes. Actually, that's I was going to mention that. Bring some of the sanitizing alcohol wipes, because I like to wash my hands anytime I come home from anywhere, because I just don't like them feeling dirty. And whenever I stop, I want like a snack or something, I like to just wipe them down real quick, like wipe my hands, wipe my face with it, wipe some sweat off. It just makes me feel good.
Freshens you up.
Yeah, it freshens you up. Plus, you can also use it to like maybe wipe your helmet, windscreen, and things like that. Just stuff some bugs if you need to.
And not to be like too graphic, not that this has happened, but like you just never know like what you eat on a trip. You may need to pull over.
Wipes.
You may need those. So.
You may not want to use the alcoholic ones for that though.
No, I'll leave that to the individuals. So
and also first aid kit.
Yes. Yep. I always pack my trauma kit.
Yep.
So.
Very important to have, because once again, you just never know what's going to happen.
And when you're riding with somebody, like, I always tell you where it is.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is my trauma kit. It's in this bag. And I keep it. I don't bury it in that whatever bag I have. It's usually very accessible.
Make sure it's very accessible.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much all for the tools, other than
tools of the trade. That's
other than like obviously your gear and everything like that.
Heated grips. You can't go wrong with those.
Yes. If you have a motorcycle, or if you're planning on getting one and planning on doing long rides with it, get one with heated grips, or get aftermarket ones, because they are a life changer and they make such a big difference for the comfort. I'm really tempted to also get a heated seat, because I feel like that'd be very comfortable after a while.
Your bike's set up to a heated seat.
Yep.
Lucky. Yeah.
So maybe I'll get that in the future, because I feel like that would help keeping my butt from being too sore.
Hit my mic. We're 1-1 now. Yeah. But that reminds me, back when I was at Harrison, they showed me these new Alpine Star gloves, and I promise none of this is advertised. This is just what I got to experience.
We're too small for advertisement.
No, this was just like what I got to experience, and I learned that this was a thing. That was like I've always seen like the powered heated gloves that plug into your jacket, and you have this whole setup to plug into your bike, or you have like a battery in your jacket pocket. But I actually saw like independent wireless heated gloves. I think they're Alpine Star, and I think they're the HT7s and 9s. I don't know, but it was really cool. They were really hot on the highest setting. They were still a little too warm sitting in a building on like the lowest setting.
Yeah,
but they were waterproof, windproof.
Nice.
So if you don't want to bother installing heated grips, or you can't afford a bike with heated grip, or whatever reason, you do have options for independent wireless rechargeable heated gloves.
Heated gloves, or just heated gear in general.
Yeah,
most bikes will support if they have like a cigarette plug. You can plug heated gear into them and use that. And a few people that carry that with
that's true.
for different reasons and things like that. So whatever your limit is, we can't speak for you. We don't know what your limit is.
What we
haven't
mentioned is hot weather riding. You can soak your shirt.
Oh yes,
remember that?
Yeah. If you're riding in hot weather, if you can, soak your shirt with water and just put it on. I promise you, it'll be dry by the time you get anywhere you're going.
Down the block.
But it will keep you cool. And normally, I don't recommend wearing cotton, because it absorbs your sweat and things like that. But a cotton shirt that's already wet in hot weather, feels pretty good, because it doesn't quickly dry up. And it just kind of helps you just stay cool on a longer ride. Yeah. Totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Other hot weather just drink water and embrace the suck, because
it'll get hot. It'll get hot. And I think that's pretty much all I had to say.
Yeah, I think so. There's really not much to. Cold weather, you guys can figure each your own things out, like we've been doing. We're not masters by any means. I think we're gonna learn some more lessons this year.
And the more you ride, the more you'll understand what you need, what you don't need, and just general stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
I think that
that pretty much wraps it up.
We're just going to be rambling on.
Yep. So anyways, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to share it with your friends. Share it with your colleagues, fellow motorcycle riders, friends and family, parents, even if they don't care about motorcycling, and tell them to listen to us anyways, because we're fun. And we will be back sometime next month.
Barring any sickness. We'll put our socials on the screen here. Again, if you have any questions, like we do want to know, like, if this is entertaining.
Yes.
If you have anything to share, like maybe we missed something that you do that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
You can email us.
Send us your riding long distance riding tips. You can email us.
We are at TD. So I started, man.
TDT motorcycles at gmail.com.
Yep.
And we'll make sure to put that on the screen as well.
Get that on there.
And so, send us your tips. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below. Let us know some of your long ride experiences. We'd love to hear it. And safe riding.
Yeah, safe riding. And just thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.